Ah,
We're there now. So Sabina's not here, so I'll just send it to her afterwards.
Okay.
I think that's everybody.
Who's Disna?
He's with me. Taylor's here. Taylor. I always say Taylor because that's how you spell it. Sorry, Taylor.
Disna.
That's Diana.
Oh,
I'm gonna teach her how to change her name.
that's hilarious. Diana,
She's
unmute
Disna.
yourself and change your name. That's hilarious.
We're all gonna call her Disna from now on.
For sure.
Everybody calls me Coco. I'm gonna call you whatever I want.
Oh my God, is that you? Oh my God, it is on sync.
Ugh,
She's Coco Ricks.
Coco
I
Ricks.
just realized that it was.
All right, do you want me to start the meeting off, Court?
Yes, please. Can you just,
You want me to just do it?
you just do it because you're all.
You know I want to.
Morning. I know you do. Letting you take over.
Yes, ma'am. That's what I'm good at. Okay, so hi, everyone.
morning.
Good morning. Thank you guys so much for calling in. I didn't mean to make it seem like it was the end of the world when I messaged this morning, but if you don't know this about me, I'll tell you right now that in the morning, I'm a little extra.
She's a lot extra.
I mean, I think I'm extra all the time, but extra in the morning.
Okay.
So if you ever catch me, if you ever want to brainstorm, call me in the morning. I'm open to it. If I shoot you 100 messages in the morning, just let me do it. Just take it with a grain of salt. But with that being said, the reason why I felt it was important for me to get on this meeting and for us to talk about some additional, I guess, policies is because of the fact that I care so much about empowering all of you to succeed. And so you're in this really great environment, in this great community, and we're still fixing and we are still revising. And those of you on this call, most of you have never closed a real estate deal. And something that you need to remember is that it takes years of knowledge and experience and expertise in order to really provide value and build your business. And so here we are kind of throwing you in the mix from the very beginning. And I want to make sure, like I said a minute ago, that we are empowering you by putting you in the mix so that you can actually succeed. So when it comes to all of us building our own businesses, the lead program and giving you guys the people to call, the database to call, access to live leads, none of that is going to matter if you don't know how to do some basics. And those basics are using the MLS, writing contracts, using transaction desk, in addition to some other skills. And so I'm actually going to share my screen if it will let me. Court, will you let me, you have to enable screen sharing. So if you guys remember the Q4 kickoff, I said to everyone, there are 3 categories of training that you need if you have never closed a transaction before, and if you want to successfully close leads. And that is buyer and seller skills, transaction skills, and knowing how to use the MLS. So a lot of you guys are making calls. A lot of you guys want access to different leads, whether they're higher dollar leads, whether it's being on live leads. And I'm going to ask you for patience with yourself. I'm going to ask you for patience with us, in the sense of be patient and understand it takes time to build up those skills. So, and everyone kind of works differently. So let me share my screen. Oh, good. It's letting me share. Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So you guys, a lot of you have never closed real estate before. And what that did was we haven't really hired too many people that haven't closed transactions all at the same time. And so this kind of forced us to expedite a policy to, again, empower you to succeed. And so what this page does is it just explains all the things that we think are going to be best again, to empower you to sell more real estate. You guys have probably already done this, so it might be redundant. And if you haven't, it's good to know that this is what we're going to require moving forward. First of all, taking a class at the MLS, meaning at the Board of Realtors, knowing how to use the MLS. We do have some recordings as well. That's the first requirement on this list. The second requirement, knowing how to write a contract. Understanding that we are helping people buy and sell their biggest asset. And what that means is you need to understand the contract, right? You need to understand what is at risk. People are putting a lot of money on the line, and it's critical that you understand that. And so I'm going to stop here for 1 second, because you guys are making calls, right? Why are you making calls? You're making calls to find somebody that wants to buy or sell real estate. Well, if you don't understand the ins and the outs of the contract, you shouldn't be making calls. So we need to start with the foundational knowledge. And because each and every one of us is different skills, we come with a different set of knowledge from our previous, from our time on this planet, as far as what you already know. And so some of you might understand how to use the MLS. Maybe you catch on really quick. Some of you might take longer. That's up to you. But what we're telling you as your community is that before you even make calls, you've got to know how to use the MLS. You've got to know how to write a contract. You've got to know how to use the transaction desk so that you can get an authentic sign. And you've got to show up at the role playing, because again, it's not just about making calls. It's about saying the right things on those calls. It's about shadowing your pod leader. And what I mean by that is, if you don't know how to communicate to a listing agent, or maybe you never requested showing instructions before, or maybe you never showed a house before, why not go along with your pod leader and hear them do those things? Why not go with them to a showing, or to a closing, or to an appraisal, or to an inspection? All of these things are what we are going to require before you even make calls. There's no point in making calls if you don't know how to do these things. The other thing that I'm strongly recommending, when you do your first deal, we're going to be here to support you. But again, there's different levels. And if you are uncomfortable, it's a lot of risk, right? There's your license and ours. So we're going to ask that you work together with your pod leader as a partner, unless you feel you could do it on your own. So it's not a one size fits all. Some of you might say, I got this, Jordana. I understand contracts because I studied law, or I understand contracts because that's my area of expertise. And you want to work on your own. That's okay. We will allow that. But for others, we're going to ask, you know what? You have a lot of questions. You're not sure what you're doing. The first deal, we want you to work together with your pod leader to really hold your hand along the way. I'm going to tell you, so does anybody have any questions about these requirements? So I want to explain also, a lot of you guys have joined us and we immediately put in the pond, and we really weren't, we were doing you a disservice, meaning you're making calls, but you're not empowered to succeed. And so I'm not taking anything away from anyone. So if you're already making calls, keep making calls, but understand, I'm going to ask you to identify in that list that I just gave you, is there something that you don't know how to do? If you don't know how to do the MLS, only you know that. So you should go to the board and sign up for a class. This is not on us. And understand, you guys are all your own business owners. So don't think that you can point your finger at me or Courtney or your pod leader or anybody else at the organization. If there's a mistake that's made, it's on you. You're an independent contractor. You have to have the wherewithal to say, I don't know what this means, or I don't know how to do X, Y, or Z. I don't know what you don't know. And so that sheet of paper that I just showed you, it's called the Newbie Requirement. The goal of the Newbie Requirement is to empower you. So please don't think, similar to what our friend said at the Tony Robbins thing, this is not to limit you. It's not a limiting belief. This is to empower you, because all of those things that you're going to know how to do, the MLS, the contracts, knowing how to talk to buyers, knowing what questions to ask, that's going to yield more success. And when you make those phone calls, you're not going to get frustrated. You're going to love it, because you're going to start closing real estate and start making money, which is why we're all here, right? We're all here to make a difference in people's lives, help them with their real estate needs. So does that make sense?
Everybody's muted, so give them a second, just in case. Does anybody have any questions? Or
Yeah.
have any comments?
Anybody have any questions on anything? So I want you, again, it's so important to me that you understand that it's me and Courtney and your pod leaders. We are not trying to say, we're not trying to push you down or stifle you or make it harder. That's not what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is make sure you understand all of the things that you need to understand to be successful.
Can I
I have
say,
a comment.
Yeah.
I have a comment. So when you do as this learning process, each time you do something, it does change your belief system, which is what Natalie was talking about. And that belief system, as it expands, it does make you more confident on the phones.
Yes.
So it's a layering process. And at the end result, once you get all of this down, then your belief system is I can, rather than I
Correct.
can't.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And, you know, I want to also kind of say something that is a little bit off topic, but when it comes to making calls, you know, I think you guys have joined this really amazing organization and community, and we are pushing, right? We're all pushing hard to be successful. But I need you guys to understand where you are in your career is where you are in your career, and it might not be the same as where somebody else is. So I don't want you to get too caught up. If you don't make calls this week because you spent all of your time, you know, studying how to use the MLS effectively, that's quite all right with me. If you don't make any calls because you are in contract classes or you're going with your pod leader on showings, that's quite all right with me. So I need you guys to understand, I think we put a lot of pressure, and that's kind of why, like, let's have this meeting today and like almost in a way stop the momentum of you must make calls, right? Like Shelly, maybe you making calls isn't where you need to be right now. Maybe you need to spend a week or two doing something else. I don't know what that is, but I need to make sure I'm telling you guys to stop for a second and think. And don't just go through the motions, because what's going to happen is you're going to get burnt out. You're not going to succeed. You're not going to be happy, and you're not going to be with Premier Listings very long because it's not going to work, right? So let's all stop. Don't get too focused on the calls. Let's think critically and remember that we're all entrepreneurs, right? You are in complete control of your destiny. That is why you're all in real estate. That is why I am in real estate. I want to be in control. So you guys are in control. So please empower yourself. That list that I just showed you is our suggestions. But in addition to the MLS, to transaction documents, to using Authentisign, to role playing, there's so much more to know. There's YouTube classes and all types of different information. We're giving you the framework. When you work within our framework, it's been proven over time and time again, you will succeed. But just understand and just understand that everyone's different, and don't get too caught up in what's happening in the office and who's making all the calls. I want you to worry about you, and don't worry about, you know, Joe agent next to you who's doing X or Y or Z.
Jordana, I'd like to make a comment that I wish there was something like this when I had started real estate. And I have to say kudos to setting up the structure, because I don't think people realize how much time it takes to do it as an entrepreneur when you're on your own. So some people are like, oh, why is everything so required? Or why to do this? It's really that you care enough, like a parent cares enough to spank their kid, right? Like when they're running out in the street because they don't want them to do that. Like, I'm being silly with that, but I'm saying this is huge because you skipped all the years of knowledge we had to learn on our own, and it was just handed to you. And I want people to understand the privilege that it is to be with a company who actually cares enough that they do this kind of stuff and are required to do this, because it's all just meant for the success. And I'm grateful to be a part of that and pass on knowledge like that, because this is super cool. Like it's very cool. Thank you for all of this. And
Thank you.
I'm learning new stuff too. Like I wanted to be on this because I think I need to take transaction desk. Ask Sydney. I was like, what button do I push?
So do I. I'm by no means the end all be all. I myself am learning every single day, and I've been licensed for a very long time. I've overseen about 5,000 transactions, you guys, and I'm still learning. And I'm super humble about the fact that I don't know everything at all. I don't know anything. I know that I don't know anything. That's what I know. But so thank you. I appreciate that, Shayla. And I also want to let you guys know the reason that this company exists is really because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was 26 years old. I left New York City and I got gobbled up alive by all the people in Florida. I made so many mistakes. I lost so much money. You have no idea the heartache I've been through. And I created this company in many ways to help people like you, because I was in your shoes in 2006. And so understand all of that and understand that we're here to help you succeed and to empower you. We're not here to stifle you. I want everyone to have access to millions and millions and millions of dollars of leads. And that's what we're going to keep doing. So thank you for thanking me, Shayla, and everyone, because you guys are newer and I might not know you guys like on a one-to-one basis. I used to know every agent really well, and I'm a little further away, but don't hesitate to ever reach out to me directly or text or call or Slack or knock on my door, because I do always want to hear from you guys.
And we can always go into the Gen Pop if you don't want the lead requirements, right? Like if you don't want to be on the getting the leads with all the requirements, you can go in Gen Pop because maybe it's not a fit for some people to have that structure. You know what I mean? And
Absolutely,
have that detail.
Sheila. I think you're right. Like part of why we have the lead team and it's a membership, you have to opt in. And if you don't opt in, that's okay. You can still use Sync, by the way, for the Gen Pop or the core agent, whatever you want to call it. You can do that, no problem. But just know that then you don't have access to our pond. The reason why we push so hard for those in the lead team membership is because we want to challenge you to be the best you can be, similar to how you're working with a personal trainer and you're getting in better shape. It's kind of like the same idea. But
well, until you have stuff on your own, you have to have somebody to call. Right?
Yep.
Anyways, okay.
And the last thing I'll say, and then I'll stop talking, is that I also want everyone to understand that it really is customizable. And what I mean is the policies that are put in place, if you ever feel it doesn't apply to you, just let us know. Like, let's say, for example, right now we have this jack pond up to a certain price point. Let's pretend you really have a lot of experience working with millionaires and you want to work millionaires. You've never closed real estate, so the policy doesn't really fit. You can say, hey, Courtney, guess what? I'm a millionaire. I don't know, maybe you are. I'm a millionaire and I want to talk to other millionaires and I don't want to be limited. You know what? If Courtney says to me, Jordana, what should we do? I'm going to say, give that person access to whatever they want. And so the reason why I want you guys to know that is understand the policies, all the guidelines that we're using. It's there to kind of protect the company and have a baseline. That doesn't mean that there can't be changes along the way.
Yeah, but nobody's going to give you. Go ahead, Court.
Well, I was gonna say they're all gonna call me now and say I want access to the millionaires.
No.
Yeah, but you know what?
No, here's the deal though. You have to say, if I was going to give my money to somebody as a person, as a business owner, I'm not going to give it to the person who's experienced or inexperienced. If I'm really spending $1 million, I'm going to do it with somebody who's experienced, incredible, and whatever. It's a different level of buyer. So even if we've been in other business arenas and ran companies and whatever, it's a whole different industry. You can't compare apples to oranges. You have to earn your keep just like any other profession. You have to put in your time and understand. And once you get, I would say once you get like 10 transactions under your belt, you have enough knowledge to then perhaps be given access to something greater, because you have to be able to know how to talk to these people. You have to have the experience.
Well, so Sheila, I appreciate that. And sometimes I think you're like more strict than I am, because I am so impatient. What I mean is, if someone's like, Jordana, I know I can do this and I've never done it before, and if they make a convincing argument, I'm going to say, yeah, let's do it.
But then I say, go do it on your own then. Get your own $1 million buyer and show me you can do it, right? So that's why I like working with you. You balance out,
Mhm.
right?
No, I really do truly believe that all of us have it within us. I truly believe that anyone can do what they put their mind to. And so that's why I'm very hesitant to make any, I don't like that you have to do 10 in order to get to the, like, I understand where you're coming from, Shayla, and I appreciate it because you're right as a business owner. But I also want to tell you guys that I can't help the dreamer in me, the believer in me, right? The fact that this company even exists is like a dream. And so I'm never going to slam the door. I'm never going to be too rigid about policies. I'm always going to welcome exceptions. I'm always going to have my door open. If you want to do something exciting, let's do it. That's the benefit of being with a company that's still kind of boutique-y, but we're still big enough where we've got some really great resources available. Courtney, were you going to say something before or no?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Okay, well, my phone is ringing off the hook. I have to drop off the line. Unless anyone else, I think we're done, right? Does anyone else have any questions, or now's the time? I really love hearing from you guys. I love
just supporting the entrepreneurial spirit, I think is so important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that, thank you, Shelley, for that. And that's part of why we called this call today, was to remind you that you're entrepreneurs and to remind you, don't just make calls for the sake of making calls. Like that's not what it is.
You don't get paid.
And so I think the momentum felt wrong to me. It felt like we were putting all this focus on the calls and we weren't putting the focus on, hold on, what's the knowledge behind the call? What's the intention behind the call? Are you trained on the MLS? Are you trained on contracts? Do you understand the contracts? So all of you, when this call is over, I want you guys to stop, like literally stop and think, you know, what is my business? What do I really know? What don't I know? What do I need to spend more time on? And really, that's up to you, right? We're here to help and support all of that, but it's really up to you to, like you said, Shelley, to be that entrepreneur. And thank you for participating, Shelley and Gabby and Shayla and all of you guys that showed up today. But I really do love it when you guys like, you know, participate and share feedback. I'm totally open. I get people tell me all the time that I'm intimidating. I don't really know why. I don't feel like I am, but please don't be intimidated.
The boss is always intimidating.
But I have to tell you, Shelley, I've had this problem. Like I was 12 years old. I was in 7th grade and I have three brothers, one of whom is older, and his friends were like, your sister is intimidating. I'm like, I am in 7th grade. So it's like something I've struggled with and I don't like it. I don't want to be intimidating.
I get it.
Transaction coordinator. Nice.
We're not scared of you.
Good.
You did that.
All right, you guys.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful
Jordan.
day.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Hey, oh,
Thank you very
go
much.
ahead, Court, go ahead.
Just had a, okay.
Go ahead, I'm here, go.
Sydney just had a good point. She
Tell
said
me.
on her first transaction, she's really happy because she's doing the transaction herself and going through the whole process. And she's like, I think everybody should do their first transaction, no matter what, if it's like agent generated or company generated, on their own. So they learning about the deposit, the timing. I've given her tips. I know Shayla's been giving her tips. But she likes,
Helped a lot.
it's helping her a lot to understand the transaction.
Yeah,
Mhm.
amazing. Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful Friday.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.